Alright, so this is a very overdue update video, isn't it? So first things first, let me apologize for how long it has taken me to make this video. Obviously the past few months have been pretty crazy for me. I had intended to document this whole process a lot better, and I wish I had, but I couldn't. And I'll explain why here in a minute, but so I hope you understand why it's been so long. And before I get into everything I want to say, I also wanted to say thank you for the outpouring of support that I was not expecting. My initial cancer video has like almost 5,000 views now, and getting just all the support from all of you who I don't even know and probably have never even watched my videos before. It's really helped me mentally like get through this for the past few months. And then of course those of you who have been watching for a while and follow me on other social medias and stuff, I can't thank you enough. It's blown me away like how much support I've been getting. So with all that being said, a lot has happened since that last video, and I'm gonna do my best to try and keep this contained to a fairly short video. I don't want to ramble on for too long. So I think the last time that I made a video, I said that we were waiting on like the final results to see what stage my cancer was, and all that. And it turns out it is stage 4, which basically that means that it has spread into other areas of my body from the initial spot, which was my esophagus. It has spread into a couple of my lymph nodes as well as my liver. So when we found that out, we knew that we had to get started on treatment like right away. I had this chemo port put in my chest. I don't know how well you can see it in the video. There's like the tube right there, and down here on my chest, I don't know how well it's showing up, but you can kind of see a scar right there. That's where they did the incision to implant it right here. I'm not sure how well you can see it, but the actual port is right here, and then there's a tube that runs up into my neck and connects into one of my like main arteries. I don't remember which one specifically it is, but basically this is so that the chemotherapy can be administered just like directly into my chest rather than having to be hooked up to an IV. Because that causes, you know, like vein blowouts and bruising and stuff. So every time I have a treatment done, they basically just like plug me right in here into my chest, and it goes straight into my heart, spread throughout my body. So I did 6 weeks of chemotherapy and radiation therapy, and I feel like I could make a whole separate video just talking about that experience. And that's the thing that I kind of wish that I had been documenting, just like the progress through that whole thing. The chemo was rough. For the first 2 weeks, things went pretty well. I had a couple side effects here and there. For the most part, I was fine. But on the 3rd week, I had like a major allergic reaction to one of the drugs they were giving me. It happened while I was hooked up and it was being administered. All of a sudden I couldn't breathe. My lungs felt like they like froze up. I started getting this like horrible pain shooting through everything from my head all the way down, and they said that basically I was having just a pretty major allergic reaction. So they had to, when that happened, they had to like quickly disconnect me and try and get me stable and everything. And because that happened, they ended up having to change the drugs they were giving me. They ended up switching it to I can't remember the names or anything, but it was a drug that wasn't necessarily designed for my type of cancer, but that was hopefully still going to be effective. And then meanwhile, I was having the radiation. That was happening every day for those 6 weeks. And the radiation, I want to say the radiation may have been a little bit worse than the chemo. The chemo made me feel like crap all the time, but the radiation was like physically hurting me. You know, it was causing burns, not on the outside of my chest, but on the inside. And it got to where it became too painful to eat or drink. And I actually ended up losing about 25 pounds total during the treatment just because it got so hard to eat or drink. So that's kind of like the quick version of how the treatments went. Like I said, there could be a whole nother video just talking about that experience. I did end up losing my hair. It's slowly starting to grow back. But there's a picture on my Instagram of the day that I ended up having to just shave it completely. I was trying to hold on to it for as long as I could, but I woke up one day and it was coming out in handfuls, and I had like a big bald spot here, like another bald spot in the back of my head, and I was like, there's no way I can hide this anymore. So I had to just bite the bullet and shave it all off. So that's also why I'm growing this out, to kind of compensate for what I lost up there. I finished my treatments. My last day was January 7th. Then I had 2 weeks where I had to wait to get another CT scan to see what kind of progress had been made, to figure out what the next steps were going to be. And if you follow me on Instagram, you know this already, but unfortunately the treatments didn't work. In fact, it actually got worse during the treatments. The radiation helped to keep the main tumor in my chest from growing, but it didn't make it shrink at all. And unfortunately, the chemotherapy was pretty much completely ineffective, because at the beginning of treatments, there were only 3 visible spots in my liver. Each one was only a few millimeters in size. And this most recent CT scan shows, according to my doctor, so many spots in my liver that they couldn't even get an accurate count. And the biggest spot went from being just a few millimeters to 5 centimeters, which is a lot of spread in a very short amount of time. So obviously that wasn't good news. So when I got that news, I was pretty shocked. You know, I wasn't expecting to be told that I was like 100% cured, but I was definitely expecting there to be some sort of progress. And to learn that it was the complete opposite was kind of hard to accept at first. So that's kind of where we're at now. The next step is I'm having a new treatment done. It's not technically a chemotherapy. The name of the drug is really long. I'll like type it up and put it here on the screen. Basically, so the way chemotherapy works is, chemotherapy is basically just a poison. It attacks your cancer cells directly to kill them, but unfortunately it can't tell the difference between regular cells and cancer cells, and that's why chemotherapy ends up, you know, making you lose your hair, among other things, because you're basically poisoning yourself. And so the way this drug is working is, rather than doing it that way, this drug, from my understanding, like attacks your blood vessels. So it's like, it's causing the cancer cells to be starved of blood so that they die that way, as opposed to just attacking them directly. It's a lot less toxic than regular chemotherapy, less side effects, and it's easier to handle. So I'm doing this treatment for the next 8 weeks, and if this treatment doesn't work, then there's like an immunotherapy that they're gonna try, which apparently that immunotherapy was only just approved like within the last year for my type of cancer, so it's a fairly new thing. Meanwhile, we're looking at like other doctors and other cancer clinics to try and get like second, third, even fourth opinions. So that's basically where we're at now. That's the latest update. At this point, it is inoperable. Liver transplant or anything like that isn't an option. And I think it's just because even if they were to transplant my liver with a healthy one, since the cancer is still present in other places, it could just spread right back to the healthy liver and we'd be back to square one. I guess the biggest thing that I'm worried about is, given how much and how quickly it spread during those initial treatments, if these next 8 weeks aren't effective, I'm concerned about how much more it's gonna spread. And actually, according to my doctors, if these next round of treatments don't work, I've got about a year left before it just like overtakes my body completely. And obviously they don't know for sure. There's no way to know for sure. It could be more than a year, it could be less. But I don't know, it's been hard. It's a weird thing to know that I may not have that long to live, you know? Obviously, like, you know, nobody knows when their time's gonna be, but knowing that, you know, knowing, what am I trying to say? Knowing that it's one thing to just not know when your time's gonna come, but knowing what's gonna cause it to come is a very strange feeling, and I've been having a kind of a tough time accepting that. I mean, I guess in a way, like, there is like a positive side to it, because knowing what might happen has kind of helped me put like a lot of stuff into perspective. It's really helped me realize the stuff that is and isn't so important in my life. And, you know, they always say you should live every day like it's your last. And knowing that my last could be soon is, it helps me to live every day like my last, I guess. I don't know, before I started recording this, I kind of had like a whole thing that I had planned out to say, and now it's kind of just all gone out the window. It's weird. That's probably the best way I can put it. It's strange. But in any case, you know, having said all that, there was something else that I wanted to mention, and that was, before all this happened, I was planning on kind of like rebooting and rebranding this entire channel. I was gonna change the name. I had all these like new video series that I was gonna do. I even started a business. I never got to tell you guys about that. I started a business, like a legit company that I like had all these plans for, and I think I'm at a point now where, you know, I've gotten through the first round of treatments, which was the worst, and now that I'm on the second round of treatments, kind of coming to terms with what's going on and everything, I really want to just try and get back to my normal life as much as I possibly can. And so all of those plans that I had, I intend to do that. I'll make another video like talking about this later on, but there's going to be some big changes happening on this channel, some new video series, stuff like that, because, you know, I don't know how much longer I have, but for the amount of time that I do have left, I want to make the most of it. So all of these plans that I had, I have this binder with all these business papers and stuff that I was working on. You know, I want to do it, and I hope you guys will follow me along on the rest of my journey, however long that may be. As always, as I mentioned in the last video, I do have an Instagram, and it's a little bit easier for me to put updates on there than it is to like make a full-blown video, so you can always follow me on Instagram to get the latest updates on what's going on. But yeah, as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, which hopefully will be a lot sooner than another 3 months from now.